Dan Seifert with mobileburn.com, and today I'm taking a look at the Nokia Lumia 710 for T-Mobile. Now, the Lumia 710 was originally announced at Nokia World earlier this year in October, or in 2011 I should say. And this is essentially the same exact model as was announced at Nokia World, just now it has T-Mobile compatibility and a couple extra apps on there. But for starters, let's take a look at the hardware here. Front and center, we've got a 3.7-inch WVGA display, typical resolution for Windows Phone, and every single Windows Phone model has had that resolution so far. This is branded a clear black display by Nokia, but it's important to note that this is not the same as the AMOLED display as the higher-end Lumia 800. It is an LCD model, and it is noticeably less quality. The viewing angles aren't nearly as good. As you can see here, colors tend to wash out and then sort of disappear as you look at it at an angle. And just overall, the screen just isn't as good quality as the AMOLED model. As you can see, the blacks aren't as deep or as rich, even though they are still very dark and do kind of live up to that clear black display name. Elsewhere on the front, we've got 3 buttons down here for the standard Windows Phone functions of back, home, or start, I should say, and search. These are physical buttons. Usually these buttons are capacitive on most Windows Phone devices. And the ones on the Lumia 710 are a little cheap feeling. It's a little hard to press in sometimes. They're not always the most reliable or responsive. Up top is a light sensor and earpiece. There's no front-facing camera on the Lumia 710, so as with the Lumia 800, you cannot do any sort of video chat or video calling. If we take a look at the side, you can see the Lumia 710 is fairly thick. It's about 12.5 millimeters thick, so it's definitely not the thinnest phone on the block, but it does have this tapered side to it, so it does cradle nicely in your hand. It doesn't really feel too chubby when you're holding it. It weighs about 125 grams, so it's not the heaviest phone either. It's fairly lightweight. Features a plastic exterior, but then the back here, if we flip it over, has a soft matte rubber touch to it, so it gives a nice soft grip to it. It's a little easier to hold on to when you're holding the phone. It does feel a little cheap though, and it is very prone to collecting dust and fingerprints. I've been cleaning this one off constantly since I got it, and it is driving me nuts a little bit. Elsewhere on the back, we've got a 5 megapixel autofocus camera with LED flash. This shoots 720p video as expected from a Windows Phone device. And then down at the bottom, we've got an external speaker, which is actually very loud and very clear in my tests. The speakerphone is very loud and clear, as is any music playing out of there, so that's a nice thing to see. Now we can pry off the back cover here. Let me just jump over to the side. And unlike the Lumia 800, the 710 has a removable battery. It's a 1300 milliamp hour unit. Nokia says you should be able to get about 7 hours of talk time or just over 16 days of standby with it, and then of course you can swap in a different unit if you like. Uses a micro SIM card slot, which is tucked underneath the battery there. There is no micro SD card. Comes with 8 gigabytes of internal storage, and you cannot expand it, so it does not have nearly as much storage as some other phones on the market, so that's something that you want to be considerate of if you are taking a look at this phone. Now the rear cover is removable, like I mentioned. This is going to come in different colors, so you can swap it out and change things to however you prefer. Also built into the rear cover, if we take a look at the opposite side of the phone, are buttons for the volume rocker and then the standard Windows Phone camera key there, that if you hit that button it will launch the camera key, and you can also launch the camera app, and then you can take pictures with it. Now the problem with this button is it's very soft, and it's hard to tell when you're actually taking the pictures, so it is a little difficult to use, and definitely not the best design for a camera button. If we take a peek at the top, you can see here we've got a power sleep unlock key, 3.5mm headphone jack, and micro USB charging and syncing port all in a row. And then the other side of the device has really nothing on there. Down at the bottom, you've got a lanyard loop and not much else. Flat, clean bottom there. So there you have it. It's a quick tour of the Nokia Lumia 710's hardware. And we'll take a look at the software and performance next. Now, the Lumia 710 is powered by the same 1.4 GHz single-core processor as the Lumia 800, and it has a 512 megabytes of application RAM. So it's the same performance pretty much as the 800, which is no bad thing. It's the same processor that we also saw on the Samsung Focus Flash and the Samsung Focus S, as well as the HTC Titan. So it seems to be the standard go-to processor for a high-end Windows Phone device that was designed in 2011. It's got, like I mentioned earlier, 8 gigabytes of internal storage. You have about 6 gigabytes available to you out of the box. Let's take a look at our About screen here. So you can see there we've got total storage about 6.28 gigabytes. Even with just a couple app updates that I've installed, it's got about 5.84 gigabytes available to it now. So if you like to store a lot of photos or a lot of videos or store a lot of music directly on your phone, you're going to run out of space pretty quickly on the 710, and you're going to maybe want to rely on a cloud-based music service such as Spotify, RDO, or even Microsoft's Windows Zune Pass. Now the interface features a teal theme. You can also switch to the Nokia blue theme that we saw on the Lumia 810, so as well as the other Windows Phone options for colored themes. As far as applications go, you've got your standard email client, messaging client, people client for Windows Phone 7.5 that we've seen. Really nothing different there. If we go down to the second block of apps, you can see some of the custom applications that the Lumia 710 sports. The Nokia Drive application is a turn-by-turn navigation service from Nokia. In my tests, I found that it worked really well, and it is very fast to reroute if you go off track and stuff. You do also have an option to download the maps to the phone itself, which is really nice. However, you do want to be very considerate of your internal storage, because if you download all the maps for North America, say, it's going to use about 1.8 gigabytes of that internal storage. But you do have the option to choose different regions and states and stuff, so you can selectively download if you'd like, or you can just use streaming services as well. You don't need to download the maps to use it. Next to that, we've got the new ESPN application that is new for Nokia phones. So it's a little bit fuller-fledged application than what you normally get with other Windows Phone devices. A little bit slow here, as you can see, as it's loading up. It takes a while to load from open. And once it's open, it claims we have an error, but it still loaded up some data for us, some scores, news, videos that you can load as well. There's also got a social integration there, and then you can choose different various sports. You can pin your favorite teams to the home screen. You can pin your favorite sports leagues and stuff like that, so you can get a quick access update for the various sports and teams that you follow. The Netflix application comes pre-installed. That's a standard Netflix application. The Weather Channel application comes pre-installed as well out of the box, and that's a standard Weather Channel application for Windows Phone 7.5. If we scroll down here, we can see it comes with the T-Mobile TV application as well as the T-Mobile My Account app. And then also, if we click this one, this is the Nokia App Highlight function, or App Highlight app, I should say, that gives you some picks as to suggested applications. So you've got what they're calling Weber's Picks, which I assume refers to Chris Weber, who is the Nokia president of North America. And then we've got a starter kit with various popular applications, and then various categories: music, games, etc., health. Just some suggested apps that you can install from here. So it's an app to get more apps. Of course, you also have access to the standard Windows Phone 7.5 marketplace. If we pan over here, we can see that there aren't too many applications. We've got the same app highlights. There's a contacts transfer helper application there, which is nice to see. You've got the My Account application again, Nokia Drive. Of course, Microsoft Office comes pre-installed with Windows Phone 7.5. T-Mobile decided to install the Telnav GPS navigation app in addition to the Nokia Drive app. Just be aware that this is a secure, subscription application, so you do have to pay per month to use that. So the Nokia Drive app is free, so that might be a better option for most people. And then you've got a Nokia We Care app, which is just a thing that you can contact Nokia and tell them how much you like your phone or how much you dislike your phone there. So that's all that is there. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the Lumia 710 has a 5 megapixel autofocus camera with a flash. You can launch the camera with the camera key, so if we hold this down for a second, it will snap open the camera application. And then you've got your standard Windows Phone interface here. You've got zoom levers here. The cog wheel allows you to change various settings. You can control your flash, and you can save your settings now with Windows Phone 7.5, which is nice to see. And then you can switch to your video mode. You can tap the screen to focus and take a picture, or you can use the camera key. The camera key is a little bit difficult to use. It's very soft, and it's hard to tell exactly when you've hit the button. It just kind of snaps the photo immediately, so it's not the best camera key, not the most intuitive, that's for sure. Let's see if we can put this on our macro focus here. And then when you've taken your picture, of course, as with any Windows Phone device, you can review it by swiping back and zoom in, hit the 3 dots, and then you have options to share to various networks or use as a wallpaper, etc. Taking a look at the video recording app. Record 720p video. You can use the camera key to start and stop your recording. So you can start your recording, shoot your video clip. There really isn't too much controls that you have with the video. You can't really zoom while you're recording, and you cannot refocus while you're recording, but it will refocus by itself, it appears, but you can't force it to. And then you hit the button up top to stop recording. Give it a second, you can swipe back and play back your video. And then you have the option to share that video as well. So there you go, that's a look at the Nokia Lumia 710 for T-Mobile. This is the first Lumia device that will be available in the United States, and unfortunately it's not the higher end Lumia 800 that we were hoping to see come first, but it is the entry-level Lumia 710. However, performance is very fast. It's got that 1.4 gigahertz processor, so it performs very quickly and smoothly, just as we expect with that sort of processor we've seen with other Windows Phone 7 devices. Windows Phone 7.5 is just as snappy as it always has been. Nokia did add some extra apps, as well as T-Mobile. That does add some of the value. We really like the Nokia Drive app, but we just wish this thing had a little bit more internal storage so that you'd have more room for your maps as well as for songs and pictures and videos and stuff. The 5 megapixel camera is not bad. It's not as good as the 8 megapixel camera that we saw on the Lumia 800, and the video is about the same, 720p standard video, but we really dislike the camera key here. The screen itself is Nokia's clear black LCD display as opposed to AMOLED, and it's not quite as high quality or as good as the Lumia 800, but it still works for most intents and purposes. The real attraction to this might just be the price, though. It's going to be listed at $49.99 on a new contract when it hits shelves on January 11th, so it does offer quite an attractive phone as for the price point that it is at. Its real competition might be the in the Windows Phone 7.5 space would be the Focus Flash from Samsung on AT&T, which is available at the same price. The Focus Flash has a nicer screen, it's a little bit thinner body, but the camera is much better on the Nokia. So if you are a fan of the pictures and cameras, stuff like that, the Nokia definitely beats the Focus Flash. And also the Nokia has the Nokia specific Drive application as well. So there you go, that's the Nokia Lumia 710 for T-Mobile. This is Dan Seifert with mobileburn.com.